Guys, it's morning here, Pacific Coast, Pacific time zone, 11 o'clock on Friday morning. Where are we here? I've got my step counter on my date. See, it's not, the date is October, somebody tell me the 16th, I believe. Anyway, let me just give it a little minute or so of just chatting away before we kind of start today with the topic at hand, which is footwork, and I think how we sort of overanalyze it way too much. But yesterday I had a business meeting, WebTennis business meeting in Phoenix. I'm here in the California desert, drove over. It's about a 4-hour drive. Had a great meeting with this guy for about 3 hours yesterday. And then driving back last night, I'm telling you, I've never seen a lightning display like I saw last night here in the desert. You know, coming west on Interstate 10, probably I'd say an hour or so outside of Palm Springs. I mean, it was just spectacular. A little concerned because there were some serious lightning bolts all around I-10, some just big thick ones, and then those kinds that are super spidery that kind of go across the whole sky. So it was fun. So guys, if you're on right now, just give me about another 30 seconds or so, maybe a minute, and we'll let some other folks get on if you can. I don't know how we work the Periscope thing in terms of tweeting out to your buddies that we're doing this live, but if you got any tennis pals on your list, go ahead and let them know that we've got something cooking here on generally footwork, but I got some ideas for you that I think might clear up any confusion you've got about footwork, and some very specific techniques that I think you may never have heard of before. And this is going to be kind of interesting to see what you think about this. But and today is here in the desert, kind of humid. I mean, all that rain the last 24 hours has been swipe left and click share. Thank you. Let's see, who'd that come from? Stevie Kinslow. Stevie, you at home in Salt Lake City right now, enjoying the fall weather, I'm assuming. But so I've got 11 o'clock here in California, 2 o'clock East Coast, and so guys, I want to talk about footwork, and I think that and someone else is saying swipe up on the Android in terms of sharing this with your friends. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And, I was out hitting yesterday. Actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was a couple days ago. And and I'm taking a water break. And this guy in the court next to me comes over and he says, "Hey, Brent, could you, tell me, about footwork, specifically on my backhand. What's the foot that I start my footwork with to go over to the backhand?" I'm going, really? I mean, are you thinking that much about every time you see it? He's a right-handed player. Every time you see a ball on your left, are you thinking that there's got to be a certain foot? Either it's kind of a jab step or it's a crossover step. And he's going, "Yeah, I've heard all this stuff," and blah, blah, blah. And so I just told him the story that I'm going to tell you is that when I was learning from Tom Stowe back in the early 80s, and I worked with Tom for about a year, and one day I'm over at the Berkeley Tennis Club, and this guy Bill Crosby, who used to be one of Tom's assistants, walks by, and I'm taking a little break, and I just said, "Bill, if there's one thing I really, really need to focus on in my tennis game?" And he knew I'd been working with Tom for about a year, which was, a very kind of opening up the Pandora's box and everything in terms of strokes. But I said, "Well, what's the one thing?" And he said, "Well, you've got to consistently make sure that you're always getting set up the same way for whatever shot it is." So, for example, with this guy, he's talking about a backhand, and this is what I told the guy. I said, "Look, don't think so much about the footwork technique. Just think about what do you need to do to be able to efficiently get over to this next backhand in a way that you've got the right spacing, the right spatial distance away from the path of that incoming ball, so that the stroke itself can be super simple, super clean, and can become repeatable. And, I just, so it really got me thinking when Bill Crosby told me that man, if all I have to do initially when, like, if we're using the backhand, for example, if all I've got to do is really, first of all, understand, well, what's the ideal spacing, the spatial distance I need for my backhand. For you guys, it might be something different. But typically, with everyone, there's sort of a unique spatial distance where you want the ball at contact to be away from you, all things being equal on your backhand. And so I just got thinking, well, if all I have to do is arrive to this setup position over and over and over again in the same spatial distance away from the path of the ball, and thank you for whoever's hearting this stuff. I understand that's kind of a good thing with these Periscope broadcasts. So, guys, if you're digging anything going on here, fire off some hearts. I'd appreciate that. But so I just got thinking, well, really what I need to focus on, because the stroke was pretty good. I mean, I'd worked on the technique of all the strokes, and if anyone was underhand feeding me balls, I looked pretty good, and I'm sure that you do the same. It's funny that I'm talking about the backhand. I think Ian Esserman's on this broadcast right now, and he's been tinkering with his backhand, and I think his business partner yesterday even had a Periscope thing on Ian's backhand. And for me, and maybe this is a piece of advice for you, Ian, that could work, is what I did is I just said, well, look, I trust the stroke mechanics I've got. Now all I got to do is make sure that consistently I'm getting into the same setup position over and over and over again, so that the swing part does not have to be improvised. And that's typically what happens. I don't know about you guys, but for me, when my spacing is not right, I'm usually crowding the ball. I'm usually a little bit too close and get a little tied up, and then the swing doesn't work. Then you've got to really sort of improvise. Let me tell you one thing that's really helped me with footwork, and that is, number one, to trust that I don't need to be totally consumed with, there's a ball close to me or ball farther away. Well, that means I got to start with a different step. That means it's the jab step or crossover or whatever. But I need to be able to do a couple things. Number one is I've got to focus on the grip tension in my hand. So right before the guy is making contact, whatever shot they're about to hit, whether they're about to hit a serve, whether they're about to hit a groundie to me, whether I'm up at net and they're about to play a passing shot, whatever it is, the thing that really kills your footwork efficiency is that moment just before they make contact and you get a little tense. There's a little tension going on because you're not exactly sure where this player is going to play that next shot, intentionally or not. And come on, let's be honest. Lots of times our opponents, and maybe sometimes ourselves, we have an intention to go somewhere, but it ends up going somewhere else. And so when your opponent's about to make contact with their shot, you've got a little tension going on. And it translates into your hands. Mentally you've got some tension, and then that tension translates into your hands physically, where you get too tight, you get too strong on that grip. And what happens is visually you don't see the ball as well. I'm telling you, you don't see the ball as well when you've got grip tension in your hands. And then if you do have grip tension in your hands, when they make contact and you finally identify, all right, it's either over to my right or over to my left, you don't come out of that split step as efficiently, as quickly, reaction time-wise, and as with much confidence if you've got grip tension in your hands. So what I discovered was, and I have to practice this thing. I mean, it's like kind of keeping my head down in contact. What I discovered is that I've got to be aware. I've got to not during the point, because this is a practiced skill that I have to constantly work on, and I always do it in my warm-ups. Is that right before the opponent or my practice partner makes contact, I'm really aware of the grip pressure I've got right at that moment. And you can go out and tinker with this in the court next time you go out and play or practice, is be aware of what's the grip tension in your hands before they make contact, and kind of go through the two extremes. Go through from, well, let me see what really strong grip tension is on my racket handle, and then the next ball you get, go to just the, opposite, which is the racket's about to fall out of your hand. And just be aware in the practice situations of what that grip pressure is. And I'm willing to bet the house, both houses, that once you learn to develop the skill of being relaxed on or in your hands, right prior to when so it's kind of like when you're going into your split step. When you come into the split step, assuming you've got good balance and you've got good posture, and at that moment is when you want to really make sure that the grip pressure, the grip tension is super relaxed. But as they make contact and you react and you decide the ball's on my right, ball's on my left, and now whatever's instinctive footwork wise naturally for you, just go over there. Whether it ends up being a jab step or a crossover step, it doesn't matter. Just go over there with whatever your instincts are footwork wise. And as you go over, again, as you're practicing, check on your, just feel the tension in your hands and make sure that you're not grippy on that racket. I mean, why do we need to be strong on the racket handle as a guy or gal's making contact, as we're moving over to get the ball, as we're actually going through the swing shape prior to contact? We don't need to be. We just don't need that grip tension there. And again, getting back to when you've got relaxed hands on your racket handle, is that you visually see the ball better and that you're more efficient lining up with that spatial distance away from the path of the ball. You're much more efficient moving over there, but consistently you're going to do that a lot you're going to do that a lot better. So where I really have to make sure I'm conscious, actually during my matches, is during the return to serve. When I'm returning serve and that guy or the gal is going up and they're going through their tossing motion, I mean, one of the things that I'm always conscious of is what's my grip pressure? Is it relaxed? And because I've got to trust that I don't need to have tension at that moment. And, when you're returning serve and that opponent is serving, especially in doubles, there's this tension, there's this pressure going on in your mind of what's about to happen. And you've got to slow time down there by making sure that your hands are relaxed so that, number one, you got some confidence. But number two, when you identify the direction of that incoming serve, you can immediately get into that shoulder turn movement so that you can react to the direction of the serve and get aligned again to the path of that incoming serve. So I'm a little worked up right here. I'm kind of fired up about this return of serve thing and the hands and the racket. So I think it's really important, and I want you guys to go out and work on that and just tinker with it. See what it feels like the next time you go out and warm up in terms of just as your opponent is about to make contact, what's your grip pressure. So guys, I hope this has helped. I appreciate you being on the broadcast today. What I'd love to hear from you, any future topics you want, you can send me an email, brent@webtennis.com. You can leave me a voicemail, my private voicemail system at 925-268-0211. And one of the things we're working on this week is the backhand chip and charge return to serve in doubles. And it's clearly one of the 5 things that I see in all good age group players. And, those 5 things are, the transitional shots initially that get you up to net. Number 1 is that backhand chip and charge return to serve. Number 2 is a great second serve. You don't need a huge kicker, but you got to have a high bouncing second serve that is super dependable. Now, the third thing I see with all good doubles players is their ability to stay very cool, very calm as they're transitioning through that transition area. I hate to call it no man's land because it's such a negative connotation, but in reality, if you're going to be a good doubles player, after that chip and charge, after that second serve, you're coming in, and that transitional area between the baseline and the service line, you gotta be able to play volleys in there. You got to be able to play half volleys and not panic that you've got a helter-skelter sprint all the way up. The fourth thing that I see in all great doubles players is, as a team, that the guys understand that they cannot ever cover at any given moment 100% of the court. So you're looking at how can you guys best cover 80% of the court to force your opponents into playing their shots into the remaining 20%. And most of the time you get an unforced error, but lots of times you get balls that you can then really have an opportunity to put away. And then the fifth thing, and a sixth thing could be the overhead. You don't need a massive spiking over the fence, scissor kick overhead. Obviously, you need a good serviceable overhead that, worst case, helps bring you back up to net and join your partner. But I really think the fifth component is the mental thing that, you know what, in whether you're serving, whether you're chipping and charging, coming in, whether you're in the transitional area, whether you're up at net, excuse me, you don't need to put balls away until you really get the opportunity to do so. I see way too many players out there rush the moment. They don't get a ball that really is, almost a gimme. And so to me, that fifth element is that mindset that, you know what, it's okay to stay in this point, until I get the ball, or until my partner really gets the ball. So, something you can put away. So guys, back to the course this week that I'm working on, the chip and charge backhand return to serve. The other thing I've got in that course is a bonus, which I'm going to leave in there for a couple, 2 or 3 more days. But the bonus part of that backhand chip and charge return to serve course is that once you establish in your opponent's minds, they're throwing you in a second serve, and here you come again. I mean, you're going to show them that, and there's a look that you give as if you're about to do it again, and that server's net partner, now trying to help protect against you chipping and charging again, takes a step forward, and at the last nanosecond, you just feather this little lob return deep over the net player, and it's fun. It is fun. So that's a second part of that course this week that I'm going to keep in there as a bonus for a couple days. If you want to get into the course, go over to the website. It's WebTennis.com. And in the upper right-hand corner in the sidebar, you'll see a link that you can get enrolled. So, guys, awesome. Let's see, I did a Periscope broadcast a couple days ago. Really had fun with it. A lot of fun to get re-engaged. As I said, I've been playing tournaments for the summer, and now this fall I'm looking back to spending much more time with you guys and doing whatever I have to do to be able to really help you with your tennis game, whatever that is. So again, let me know where you want some help on your game. Brent at WebTennis.com, or you can leave me a private voicemail, 925-268-0211. And that's it for today. I'm out of here. Maya and I are going to go out and hit some balls in the clay today and get a good workout. And until next time, man, get out there, make it another great day. All right, guys, we'll talk again soon.